Hello, and first of all, I'd like to start by saying thank you. We're very honored to be here, and we're very excited to show you our presentation. You will never walk again. Those are 5 words that millions of people around the world have heard from their physicians, their doctors, after being injured, after sustaining a disability. Perhaps those words do not need to be their fate in entirety. I'd like to introduce you to our company, ReWalk Robotics. Our mission, as you can see before you, is to fundamentally change the lives, quality of life, for individuals living with lower limb disability, and we want to do that by the creation of cutting-edge robotic technology. And as you listen to that message, as you read it before you, you may think that we are a little crazy maybe. In Hebrew we have a word called chutzpah. I think the translation is audacious. But I think that after you listen to this presentation, after you hear some of the stories and you see some of the people using this technology, you will agree with me that we have a very good chance of addressing that mission, possibly full stop. Now, I've spoken about our mission. I'd like to talk about our market opportunity. And as you can see before you, we've divided the space between significant disabilities and mild disabilities. And we've made a subdivision between institutional use in the hospital and home use in the community. And as you can see before you, for significant disabilities, today in gray, we have 2 products. One is the ReWalk Rehabilitation for use in hospitals and clinics, and the other is the ReWalk Personal for use at home. Our future product line will include products that will address mild disabilities, those that are in the institution and hospital, like stroke or Parkinson's, and those that can be used at home for indications like multiple sclerosis or even elderly assist. Now, when you want to start a business, when you're an entrepreneur, you always need to identify the need. What does your product intend to do? Now, when you see someone in a wheelchair, you may think that that person can't walk. But that is really just the tip of the iceberg. And there are very many medical consequences that result from the fact that the person just isn't walking. Things like difficulty with bowel management, insulin resistance, diabetes, osteoporosis, gaining weight and losing muscle. These things have a tremendous expense, and you can see some of those numbers before you. If you marry that with the fact that the vast majority, almost 90% of these people go home, you have a distinct need for a solution that can address these secondary medical consequences and can be used independently in the home. I'd like to introduce you to our solution, which is the ReWalk. As you can see before you, the ReWalk, a device designed fundamentally to improve quality of life, is a lightweight wearable exoskeleton. It's been designed to be used all day. We have special user-initiated walking methodology, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. The system enables people to stand up, it enables them to walk, turn, sit, stand, even to go up and down stairs. The device supports its own weight, which means that the user won't become tired by supporting the weight of the device. He stands within it, not holding it and supporting it. And we have a rechargeable battery pack, which can be simply plugged in overnight, recharged fully, and the device can be used all day the next day. Every company needs to look to the future. Every company needs to make sure they have something to do and address a need that can be addressed in the future. In the market today, we have our current generation ReWalk Personal 6.0. You're going to see it a little bit later today. But we see in the near term new products with next generation technologies. And these devices we believe will be slimmer, will be lighter, will have a more effective and efficient drive system. As we look a little bit further to the future, we see a new line of products which we call soft suits. And these soft suits will be able to address indications like I mentioned earlier in the mild disability realm. Stroke, multiple sclerosis, cerebral palsy, Parkinson, and elderly assist. And we've began a partnership with the Weiss Institute at Harvard University to begin joint research and development on such an exosuit, which we believe will be available in 2019. These are just some illustrations of that ReWalk Restore exoskeleton soft suit that I was mentioning earlier. And as you can see, the device will have a very ingenuitive design, and and will provide both dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. That means that the system will lift your foot, but also propel it forward. As we look to get some feedback and opinions from opinion leaders in the field, we see that these are going to be very important attributes to people using this soft suit in the near future. I just want to leave you with some company highlights, and more information can be attained either via our website or contacting us directly. And one last picture before I finish is a picture that I downloaded from the internet just yesterday, and I couldn't help but putting it on this presentation because I thought it really does illustrate what a day in the life of ReWalk is. And as you can see here, a lady who's getting married. And you might think that that's it. But if you look carefully and if you look closely at her legs, you'll notice that she, under her dress, is wearing a ReWalk exoskeleton. And this device is enabling her to fulfill her dream of walking and get married under the altar. And that's just one day in the life of ReWalk. Now, I've spoken enough, and I'd like to take whatever time is left to introduce you to my friend and colleague, Mr. Radi Kayoufi. Radi is going to be joining us if you look to your left. And you'll see that Radi is getting ready to come up the stairs. Radi is paralyzed. He was injured during his military service in the Israeli Defense Forces. He was shot by a sniper and rendered paralyzed. He lives his life in a wheelchair. If you look closely, you can see his wheelchair. But as you notice, he doesn't need his wheelchair to go up the stairs to this stage. And he's making his way up. We have a very special stair algorithm, which makes sure that the user is safe. It's one step at a time. And when the user is ready, he just presses a button and he goes up a step. This could not be done if he didn't have a ReWalk with him today. Now, Radi successfully made it up the stairs, and that was a very good job. And now he's going to show you how he walks. Now, when the user wants to walk, he simply presses a button on the remote control that he wears like a watch, and he tilts his body. Thank you. He tilts his body forward. When he wants to stop, he simply stops tilting his body, and then he can use the use of his hands to shake my hand, to shake your hand, to press a button, to take something off of a table, to get back to work. When he wants to continue walking, he simply asks the device via the remote control to engage in walk mode, and he tilts his body forward. Every tilt forward will be another step. And if you notice, as he walks near me, his gait pattern, his walking method, is very, very close to the way that an able-bodied human walks. And please try and compare his walking to mine. By enabling this cutting-edge methodology of having a walking pattern, which is mimicking the human walking pattern, we are able to achieve many of the health benefits and health improvements that can be achieved by walking. Some important additional attributes to keep in mind. The first one is speed. As you notice, Radi is walking pretty fast. And you may say, well, speed is nice, but why is that important? And it's important because speed equals safety. Imagine yourselves crossing the street. Imagine if you couldn't get to the other side of the street in time. You weren't fast enough. You would immediately become a danger to yourself and to those around you, which is why speed is important. This is the fastest exoskeleton on the market, with speeds of nearly 3 kilometers per hour. In addition to speed, another important element is fit. Consider a pair of shoes. They may be very expensive, they may be very nice. If they don't fit you properly, you won't wear them, despite the price tag, despite the way they look. It's no different in the world of exoskeletons. If this exoskeleton didn't fit him precisely, it would cause potential problems with his body contacting the device. Perhaps he would get a skin abrasion. In extreme cases, it could lead to bleeding. In extreme cases, an infection, and that could be very dangerous for these people. So the ReWalk has nearly 200,000 permutations and options for sizing, for fitting, and this is all in order to verify and make sure that we have a very accurate fit. These are very important elements. I'd like to thank you for your time. It was our honor to be here with you today. Thank you.
was very, very interesting. I know safety first is a very common sign in China. Mobileye technology puts safety first into practice for drivers and passengers. Mobileye is the biggest ever acquisition by an Israeli technology firm. It was acquired by Intel for about $15 billion. I'm pleased to invite Ms. Rosanna Su, China General Manager of Mobileye.